China forges space pacts with Africa as Trump cuts aid, investing in satellites and infrastructure to expand influence and surveillance. China supplies equipment and experts to Egypt's space lab, where Africa's homegrown satellites are mainly built in China. China gifted Egypt a satellite plant, a space monitoring center with powerful telescopes, and 3 satellites in 2023, including one with military-grade surveillance capabilities. Egypt's Space City, centered on a Chinese-supported satellite facility, reflects President Sisi's growing ties with Beijing through infrastructure and energy deals under China's Belt and Road Initiative. China has 23 bilateral space pacts in Africa, with Egypt, South Africa, and Senegal joining its moon base project, a project that rivals the United States' lunar plans. Jinping pledges $50 billion for African space projects, including satellites and deep space exploration. Beijing claims it aims to boost African space programs as global reliance on space grows. Ex-US intelligence officer Nicholas F. Demiades warns Beijing is expanding authoritarian influence through space. China builds a global surveillance network through space tech in developing nations, while the US pulls back under Trump, with Elon Musk leading cuts to foreign aid programs. Chinese embassy spokesman Liu Pengyu called America the world's largest surveillance state. A 2022 US Defense Intelligence Agency report warns China's telescopes can track US satellites and aid anti-satellite weapon deployment. China's satellites track US Egypt drills, while ground stations in Ethiopia and Namibia support missile tracking. In 2020, Sweden blocked China from using its satellite ground stations, citing geopolitical tensions, as US allies cut space cooperation with Beijing. China is catching up with the US in satellites, moon landings, and anti-satellite weapons, says Pentagon Space Command Chief Stephen Whiting. China is rapidly launching low Earth orbit satellites to rival Musk's Starlink, added Stephen Whiting. China's state-owned CASC aims to lead global space power by 2045, planning moon landings by 2030, a moon base, and nuclear-powered space shuttles. The US still leads in space with SpaceX, but China's expansion poses a challenge to Trump, who created the Space Force to counter future threats.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Trump's space team is expected to focus on military strength and a Moon-Mars race, leveraging his ties with Musk, while NASA's Artemis aims for a 2028 moon return. The US backs the Artemis Accords for Moon and Mars rules, while China, calling it a land grab, pushes its International Lunar Research Station with support from Russia and Egypt. Scott Pace, former head of the National Space Council, stated that China's space partnerships aim to position it as the center of power. CNSA official Yang denied using space data for military surveillance. Chinese embassy spokesman Liu said African nations choose partners based on their interests. NASA began building its first African ground station in South Africa last year. Its moon program relies on this site for spacecraft communication. NASA also operates 36 small atmospheric sensors across 14 African countries. Angola, Nigeria, and Rwanda have joined the US-led Artemis Accords. Some African governments prioritize funding and technology over US security warnings, said Temidayo Onyosun of Space Consultancy in Africa. Egypt's satellite program remains dependent on China. 2 satellites were built in China, while 1 was assembled in Egypt using Chinese parts. All 3 were launched from China. A Hong Kong-listed space tech firm, U-Space, plans to partner with Egypt's space agency on satellite development. Beijing has also aided Ethiopia's space program for climate monitoring. Ethiopia says it won't take sides in the US-China space rivalry. The US-China rivalry persists, pressuring nations to take sides. Will they instead chart their course rooted in individuality? Time will decide. Bureau Report, NewsX.
那就是中美合则两。